One of the important stories pertaining to the Exodus, which we will be discussing at the Seder, is that of Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher Moses, who was designated by God to be the leader of the Jews in terms and negotiate with Paro in terms of getting the Jews out of Egypt. And even more significantly, subsequently, he was the one who went up to the Mount Sinai, and God communicated with him and revealed to him all the laws of the Torah, including the interpretation. So he was the primary teacher of the Jewish people. His very existence was miraculous because at the time he was slated for destruction because of Paro's decree that all the male Jewish children should be cast into the sea. The parents kept him for as long as they could. Then they put him in a straw cradle, and they made it waterproof, and they put it on the banks of the river. And miraculously, the daughter of Paro, who was a righteous woman, she was bathing by the Nile, and she saw the basket, and she opened it, and she realized that it was a Jewish child. And she decided to keep the child and to raise the child. At that very moment, Moshe's sister Miriam was watching the entire thing, and she ran to the daughter of Paro and asked her, shall I get a nursing woman from the Hebrews to nurse the child, because the child needs to be nursed. And the daughter of Pharaoh agreed, and interestingly enough, she got her own mother, Yocheved. So due to the effect of divine providence, Moshe was not only saved, but he was nursed by his own mother. And then subsequently, when he was weaned, he was taken to the daughter of Paro, and she raised him. Then we read that once he became older, say he was a teenager, he went out to see what was going on in terms of the enslavement of the Jews. He wanted to see for himself, to study the matter. Then it tells us that he encountered a Egyptian officer who was beating a Jew, basically beating him to death. And at that very moment, Moshe had a very, very significant choice to make, and he chose to identify with his brothers. The Torah keeps mentioning he saw a Hebrew man from his brothers. He identified with his brothers. He intervened. He slew the Egyptian and buried him in the sand. Subsequently, this was found out, Pharaoh found out, and Moshe had to escape. But it's very interesting to note, where did Moshe get that powerful sense of identification with the Jews? After all, he was raised in the house of Pharaoh. He could have gone on to become a leader or a prince of Egypt. And it's a very, very unusual thing. What caused him to have such strong feelings for the Jews? Now, my theory is that the fact that Miriam got his own mother, that he was nursed by his own mother, is very significant. Because I'm just speculating now. I think it might have happened this way, and that is the daughter of Pharaoh told Moses that he was adopted. So Moses, obviously he was precocious, but he was very curious, and he wanted to know about his background, and she told him he's from the Hebrews. And I'm speculating that she was able to trace back to Yocheved, and he was reunited with Yocheved, and he had a relationship with them, and that's how he knew about his own family. In fact, later on, God says that Aaron will come out to greet you. That's when he was supposed to go back to Egypt, and he will rejoice in his heart. So it's clear that he had a relationship with Aaron as well. It seems to me that in these years, Moshe would make a point to frequent his own house, to visit his mother and his family, and from there he developed that strong feeling of identification. Still in all, he went out to see. He wanted to observe. He wanted to understand. And when he saw that the Jews were being afflicted unjustly, see, Moshe had within him that strong determination to fight for the oppressed, to fight against injustice. But he had a very big decision to make. Who am I? Am I essentially an Egyptian, and I identify with the Egyptian culture? Or no, that's only superficial. Deep down, I belong to the Jewish people. I'm a Jew. These are my brothers, and I have to intervene. And he made the decision to intervene, to help his brother, to save his brother, and he paid, of course, a very, very heavy price, because eventually it was discovered. Pharaoh found out about it. Pharaoh wanted to kill him, and he had to escape. But he never regretted making that kind of decision, because it was the right thing to do. It's a very important lesson, because we have the same phenomenon throughout the centuries, where there are Jews who become prominent in the countries, where the Jews are living, obtain very high positions. And sometimes the needs of the Jews, that could be a good thing because they could intervene and do good things for the Jews when the Jews are suffering. But there are many occasions where they don't. And you see that even today in terms of American policy towards Israel, the pressure that's being put on Israel in terms of the Gaza war. And there are Jews in significant places, and it's up to them. Not always do they decide to risk their own personal careers and coming out and helping the Jews. So this is an important point for all of us to remember. We're Americans, we're proud Americans, or in other countries, but we're Jews. And ultimately, the Jew has no one to help him except his fellow Jew. Let us always be dedicated to that objective.